welcome again to this brand new season of the ICON Podcast here, Their Voices. My name is Priscilla Ozodo-Acevedo, and it's such a joy to welcome you back. For those of you who are joining us for the very first time, ICON is the International Committee on Nigeria, and our focus is to promote human dignity, the right to live, religious freedom, and the protection of all vulnerable from ethnic and religious persecution. That's why we are here. That's why we talk. And in this season, we'll be focusing our discussions around the theme, Hope for Nigeria, ICON's vision for all Nigeria. We'll be bringing guests to you that will be shedding their light on the deep issues that are still happening in Nigeria today. But in light of the issues that are happening, they'll be sharing what their hope is for Nigeria. What are we looking forward to? Why are we still fighting? And y'all, I cannot wait to welcome our guest today. I first watched Rinu on Channels Television. I believe it was Channels during the NSARS movement. And I remember watching her on TV and I was weeping. And I said, I want to interview this lady. It's such a joy to welcome Rinu to our studio. Rinu Oduala is a human rights advocate. She's a community organizer. She's an influencer focused primarily on the issues of equity, justice, humanity, and community advancement. You may have heard of her during the NSARS movement because spurred by police brutality in Nigeria and beyond, Rinu has become a key player in the work to confront systems and structures that have led to the mass incarceration and police killings of Nigeria. Rinu has been working hard in Nigeria and she is still at work today. In fact, we're going through this just before she goes out to fight for some people who are still incarcerated. Please, ICON, join me at this time as you share the message. You know you don't watch this alone, particularly because we have Rinu in the studio. So click share, and as you're clicking share, join me to welcome Rinu Oduala into the studio. Rinu, it's such a joy to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Priscilla. Hi, ICONs. Hi, everyone.
Oh, it's such a joy to have you here. First of all, I like to check name pronunciations. Is it Rinu Oduala?
Yes.
Okay.
You did that
just want
right.
to make sure I'm saying it right because people say my name wrong all the time. Like, hold on. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm just gonna jump right into the deep end because we don't want to waste any of your time. So in your opinion right now, what is wrong with our country? What is the problem with Nigeria, and how has these issues been reflected in police brutality, in genocide all over the country? What is the deep-rooted problem of Nigeria?
Well, in my opinion, the general problem of Nigeria, if I was to look at it, you can call it our governance conditions. I mean, we have a lot of governance issues, and like you asked, you can see that in traces. You can see that those traces in the corruption problems. You can see them in the security problems, in the economic issues that we have. Many of the issues that we have in Nigeria today can be traced to bad governance. I mean, Nigeria is blessed with all we need, and our most important resource, with the many blessings that we have, are the resilient Nigerian people who can survive anywhere. And then, with genocide in the north, you can see a compelling problem around displaced hundreds of thousands. And then we have this ethnic and regional and religious, polarization, which is threatening to become deadlier, and they are undermining our national stability. We can see the damage to education in the north, damage to health facilities, attacks on markets, attacks on farms, restricted access to land. That has a lot of negative impact on livelihood. We can see the humanitarian crisis, the increasing security, there's increasing pressure on damaged basic social services. Children and women are now shields of war, amongst many others.
Yeah.
And then with police brutality around the country, you can see the effects in the youth population who have gotten nothing, over 33% unemployed, and they've gotten nothing from the state but harassment and injustice in the hands of our security agents. It is depressing. It's a depressing solution in general, or it's a depressing situation rather in general.
Yeah. people really came to know you during the NSARS movement. And I personally got to watch you on TV. And I was like, who is this young girl that is talking like this? And it just really encouraged me, particularly because, as you know, women and children in Nigeria, we're not giving like, oh, go and say your mind, go and speak your mind, you know. But can you tell us a little bit about the NSARS movement and how you got to be involved? You probably didn't grow up saying, oh, I want to be an advocate for justice. You know, how did you get involved with this?
Okay, for the NSAS movement, it is vital for people to know that for every young Nigerian out there, they have heard of the word SARS before, because they are this, criminal police force. For me, I call them criminals in police uniform that were originally set up to combat issues of armed robbery and kidnapping in the country. And over time, they became they became criminals themselves. They were set up to combat criminals. And then over time, they became the actual criminals. They were set up to combat armed robbers, to combat issues of armed robbery. Over time, they became the armed robbers themselves. And they started to harass young Nigerians who are just struggling to make a life for themselves. The society is already so hard. And then, just a sprinkling of a bit of affluence around you as a young Nigerian can make you a target. And people became targeted due to looks, their dreads, maybe owning an iPhone, maybe owning a car that could make you a target. And it doesn't just happen to young Nigerian males alone. It happens to, it happens to everybody, both young and old. But the targeted demographic was the young people who were struggling to make a life for themselves. Yeah. And, they've killed a lot of young Nigerians, illegally arrested people, searched people's phones, kidnapped people. It's as bad as that. They just meet you, harass you, tell you that they'll shoot you and nothing will happen, try to take you to the ATM, withdraw money from you, and nothing actually gets to happen. You could die and, no justice will be gotten. And so it was important for me to get involved because as a ghetto kid, I grew up seeing oppression and marginalization around me. And the reaction for most of us in the country could be true. You could either decide to just leave the country or you decide to just shut up and just keep quiet, because even by speaking up, many things could happen to you, or you could decide to fight and risk your life. But most parents do not want their children to fight and risk their lives. So they're always telling us, just shut up, just keep quiet. And then many people come and say, the Nigerian youths are lazy. It's actually more about, subdued mentally. They're being subdued mentally by parents, by the government, to just try to keep quiet and just stay out of trouble. So it was important for me to get involved because the injustice that was happening in the country finally required more than hashtags. It was about survival. It was about my future. It was about fighting off oppression and not being a victim. And using my voice, to voice out felt amazing in a country where people have been, has been voiceless for a very long time, and speaking up is regarded as too much. Yeah. And doing it alongside millions of young Nigerians actually made the difference, because at a young age, I'm voicing out for change. I'm breaking out of that norm of being voiceless. And more importantly, I'm not the only one doing it. So I never set out to become really known. All I just wanted to do was to use my voice and my platforms to speak out against the killings.
That's amazing, because one of the strongest ways that you've used your voice, Rinu, is on Twitter. And recently we heard that there's been a Twitter ban placed in Nigeria. And the authorities in Nigeria accuse the platform as threatening the country's corporate existence by allowing misinformation and fake news. What do you think about the Twitter ban?
Well, I said in my op-ed, I wrote an op-ed about this, and I said that how can we even begin to explain or make sense of the Nigerian government's decision to ban a major source for real-time news, activism, jobs, and accountability? They cited insecurity, they cited, threats to the country's corporate existence, and all of that as a reason that they told the world that this is the reason why they chose to wake up and place a ban on Twitter in the country. But that itself is a shameful excuse, considering how people have been killed daily in communities all over Nigeria without them having links to Twitter. Twitter exists in other several countries, across the world. Why was it that when the president's genocidal tweet was deleted, that the platform is now being threatened of misinformation? How can a platform that helps citizens express their dissenting opinions on issues? I mean, social media is literally one of the last, I would say literally the last place where Nigerians can actually try to, hold the government accountable or express their opinions on government policies. How can a platform that helps citizens provide a source of livelihood for people? There are millions of people that depend on Twitter for their daily jobs. They can have their online stores there. They can do their small advertisement for their shops there. And then that source will simply be banned because the government woke up and wished it into existence. I can't recall the number of lives that have been saved due to quick response from people via Twitter. How many kidnap cases, rape cases, police harassment cases. I mainly use Twitter to help people, amplify their police harassment cases, extortion cases, armed robbery cases, mental health response, breaking news that we're able to get daily because of the real-time nature of Twitter. For me, I think that is a ruse for an incompetent government who is unable to prioritize the welfare of the citizens.
Wow. Having this our Nigerian issue is so deep, and social media has allowed us to have a voice, kind of, particularly women and children. And if you can just touch on this briefly, because in the past, seeing a woman activist was, I don't know about your generation, but like me growing up, seeing a woman activist was almost impossible. And I feel like social media gave us a voice and a platform. Would you say that, social media has assisted women in activism in Nigeria today?
For us in Nigeria, there have been many cases, numerous cases of women rights violations. You have femicides, you have rape, you have widow abuse, physical assault on women, acid baths that have occurred in Nigeria, and many of them rarely see the light of the day. We have critical cases such as FGM. Some employees might decide to terminate a woman's employment because she's pregnant. Several other issues that are not considered problematic enough to be highlighted in the media or taken seriously by the police. So social media has helped women in activism to mainly advocate for their cases themselves. For a very long time, women have not been granted a seat at the table. And now women are creating spaces. Women are creating platforms for themselves to advocate, to speak up for their rights, which is indeed amazing. Now, women do not need to wait for permission or wait for big platforms to invite them any longer before speaking. We have literally created our own tables with the help of social media.
That's amazing. I just want to emphasize that social media has been this platform, and social media is currently under attack. The platform of social media is currently under attack as a means of communication, particularly about this kind of situations of injustice in Nigeria.
Of course, I mean, women like me as well. You could tell me I use social media literally every day, and now the government decides to come and shut that place down because of a deleted tweet or because of youth mass movement. I mean, when we look at the genesis of them banning Twitter, it's been a long time coming. And now when you look at the interviews the Minister of Information has had with the media, he keeps repeating, the NSAS movement, the NSAS movement, the NSAS movement. So it wasn't about just a deleted tweet. It was actually about the fact that young Nigerians could gather themselves, create, a global force and be able to use one voice to speak out against police brutality, which was shocking to them. I mean, they never expected that because we've always been divided along religious lines, along ethnic lines. So that unity wasn't expected, really. So now they now choose to that platform where people can now voice out for themselves, especially women can now advocate for themselves, is now banned because the Nigerian government feels, threatened.
Yeah. Oh, Lord. God help us. Now, there's a lot of people, particularly with the work we do at ICON, is a lot of advocacy around government influence and putting pressure on the American government to put pressure on the Nigerian government, particularly to end genocide in the north, in northern Nigeria, and the killings in many of these villages that have been wiped out. So there's some people that say to get anything done in the justice realm, we have to work with the government. Now, you had the opportunity to work with the Lagos state government and recently stepped away from that. Can you talk a little bit about that experience? You were on the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry that was set up by the Lagos State Governor, and you recently stepped away from that to say that wasn't the way to bring the change you were looking for. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yes, it was for me on the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry. It was, how would I describe this? It was a VIP face-to-face encounter, to the horrors that the Nigerian citizens pass through in the hands of unstable, or like I call them, criminals in uniform, our security agents, and also the broken judiciary system. There were several horrifying cases. I could go on and on. One of our police officers killed an entire family in a day because they refused to give them bribe as low as $1. There were cases where police officers pushed a man down 2-story building. People have lost their lives. People have lost their relatives. People have lost, a lot in the hands of, unstable security agents in the country. And when they turn to the states or the government to get justice for themselves, they are usually turned away. The judiciary system doesn't help. I mean, someone that goes to court for 4 to 5 years to get justice, to get some sort of compensation from the Nigerian government, eventually, if they eventually get it, the payment or the judgment sum does not get paid out. So imagine you get paid, the court grants you $5,000 for everything that you have gone through, and you try to enforce that judgment, and then they refuse to pay you that money simply because you can't enforce it. So there's a lot going on, and hearing the horrors that Nigerians have gone through in the hands of criminal police officers, seeing so many lives destabilized, so many lives ruined forever as a result of criminal officers who mostly are still in service, by the way. Wow. And then their frustrating experiences with the judiciary is a traumatic experience that I think that many people should never pray to go through. I mean, the panels of inquiry were set up to investigate cases of police brutality in the state, to make recommendations for justice while also compensating victims. And the NSAS protest started due to, wide-ranging reasons, but the most encompassing one was police brutality, and people refused to go off the street because we lost trust in the government. And why am I saying this? Is that these panels are supposed to restore some sort of hope back into the heart of the Nigerian people and people in diaspora. So when you hear about these panels, you can say, this is supposed to be something hopeful. We're supposed to get something out of this, just to start the process of healing. Now, some of these panels have ended, but I'd ask that, did they succeed in restoring hope back into the hearts of the Nigerian people? Or they just reinforce the thoughts that justice does not get meted out in Nigeria? I mean, justice is action in accordance with the requirements of the law. So whether that law is grounded in public opinions or societal norm, that law is supposed to ensure that all members of society receive fair treatment. And just institutions will bring a sense of stability, will bring a sense of well-being, will bring a sense of satisfaction among members. And injustice will lead to dissatisfaction, will lead to rebellion, will lead to revolution. So are we paying victims, no matter how meager the amount may be, for the injustice meted out to them, and letting the criminals who have gotten them in this situation in the first place go with a pat on the back? Or are we making sure that we're setting systems that ensure that cases of police brutality are reduced drastically? For me, I said in my op-ed, I released that when I left the panel, that partial justice is not enough and can never be enough for what Nigerians have gone through in the hands of, police officers. And people can get involved, in this, because the fight hasn't ended. The fight for ending of police brutality, the practical end to bad governance may have stopped being on TV screens, may have majorly stopped being on our streets, it doesn't mean that that fight has ended. There's several young Nigerians that are still in prison just for simply protesting for over 8 months ago. They are teenagers, they are young ladies that are pregnant. Some lost their pregnancies. One just gave birth, I think, day before yesterday, and they are still in prison just for simply protesting. The Nigerian government doesn't have any evidence against them, but they're keeping them in prison just to make people see sort of scapegoats so that people will probably stop protesting. So there's still a lot going on. Frontliners have been harassed. A lot of people have had to leave the country because they're being intimidated and harassed by the Nigerian government, including judicial switch. People's bank accounts were frozen. A lot of passports were seized. People were harassed and intimidated in their own homes. People were dragged from their homes, dragged into, courts without any other, dragged into prisons without any other. There's a lot that is going on, and people can get involved by using their platforms and talk and voices to talk about the happenings, because the fight for a better Nigeria where a common graduate can get a good pay job, be able to pay their house rent comfortably, be able to save up for their future hasn't stopped. In Nigeria where police and all other law enforcement agencies will never in any condition physically abuse or violate the rights of the citizens. The fight for a Nigeria where we won't be cut down in our prime as young people. As young Nigerians, we have grown up hearing that the youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow. However, that tomorrow has come, and we think that tomorrow may have even gone by, and we have not noticed as yet. So I think for us now, the fight is about demanding to be leaders today rather than wait for our turn in an unforeseen future. And everybody, Nigerian or non-Nigerian, needs to get involved in that.
That's awesome, because you just led me to my next question. You said two things. You said partial justice is not justice at all. And I just want to pull a parallel that is airy and scary. We talk a lot about Leah Sharibu, and she being in captivity for the past 3 years and has had kids in captivity. And now we're talking of another set of ladies, not in captivity by terrorists, but imprisoned by our own government, and are imprisoned and having babies, some of them losing pregnancies in prison today. We are in a scary situation. So I just wanted to touch on just what you said. Everybody has to get involved. Everybody has to use our platforms. Rinu, can you take a moment to talk to some of us sitting down in the diaspora in England, Nigeria, Germany, France, different Nigerians that are saying that's their problem. What's happening? Some people say what's happening in Northern Nigeria is Northern Nigeria. Then stuff started happening in Lagos. They're like, oh, it's just, I'm not there. My family is not there. What would you say to them if they were put in front of you? What can they do? How can we, the international community, and not just Nigerians in the diaspora, but people who may just be watching this and are interested in what's happening in Nigeria, what can they do today?
Thank you for that. The Nigerian situation right now is not even just for some part of Nigeria or just for Nigerians. I mean, the Nigerian situation, for me, I think that it should be something that every Nigerian and non-Nigerian, whether you're in the country or not, that believes in humanity and freedom should get involved in. For about 10 years, we've been battling with issues of terrorism and insecurity in the north, and just for some semblance of maybe mental health blocking, we thought that it's happening in just the north, so people that are in other parts are okay. I think it's just happening in the north, and over time it spread across the country. Now you can see a lot of things happening in the southeastern Nigeria, where security agents are being killed, civilians are being killed, youths are being kidnapped, and they're later found dead. Government properties are being burnt down. There's a lot of things happening. And then people thought this was happening in the southeast and the north alone. And the north, for instance, there's been a lot, the terrorism, the kidnapping of school children for ransom, the bombings, the killings, the massacre of villagers, and a lot of other things going on. So we thought it was happening in the north and the southeast. Then now it's spreading that spread to the southwest. Now we have people being kidnapped on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, people being kidnapped all over the southwest, villagers being killed in their farms by herdsmen. There's a lot of things going on. Now we have robberies in Lagos, the mega city of Nigeria. We have robberies all over Lagos. There are killings all over Lagos. There are court clashes everywhere. There are kidnapping, like I said, everywhere. The people kidnapping people for rituals. There's a lot of things. I could go on and on and on. There's a lot of things going on in Nigeria. There are people being killed every day. I mean, last week, I think about not less than 500 Nigerians were killed last week. Wow. 93 in Zamfara, 100 in Benue, in Hebonyi, in Oyo State, in Osun State, in Kaduna. There was so many deaths. And I think that for us in Nigeria now, it's about, we're now desensitized to the killings. We do not want to believe that this is happening because it could literally happen to you. The average Nigerian is no longer safe. Go out on the street, you're not sure if you're going to come back home complete anymore. You may come back home without your properties. That's if you're lucky. If you're unlucky, you come back home dead. And it's just literally a lot going on, and the government doesn't seem to be listening to the average cries of young Nigerians, and not only young Nigerians, of all Nigerians. And the next thing they can, think of doing out of everything that is happening with all this crisis, for me, I think that Nigeria is in a state of emergency. Yeah. People should stop believing that we are still in a controllable situation. The situation is out of control. And for every Nigerian and non-Nigerian that believes in humanity and freedom out there, the Nigerian states, the Nigeria that you think that is in a state of emergency. And now the international community has platforms, to advocate, to create awareness, to platforms for situations, to petition congresses across the world, to reach out to their lawmakers. The situation in Nigeria is there and is alarming. We need help, and we need a lot of it.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Rinu. I just want to talk a little bit about you and your own mental health, because you carry a lot of this, not just inside, but almost physically. The angst, you've been gifted with the burden of what's happening, and you're seeing all of it, and you're making yourself follow it. How do you stay mentally whole? How do you deal with this trauma every single day?
Okay.
Go ahead.
You said one thing when we started the podcast. You said that you don't think that I grew up deciding that I want to advocate for people and I want to go all about, activists and advocates and all of that. I didn't actually grow up doing that. But getting into it, it now became sort of, would I call it? It draws me in. Now, you're doing this and then something else is happening, and then you feel like you can't just ignore this. Then you take that one, then another thing is happening. It's like a dominoes effect. As soon as you get into to advocate for one thing, then another thing happens, then another thing happens. Then I woke up yesterday and I said 200 children, over 200 children were kidnapped in Niger for the past 2 weeks. The Nigerian government is yet to say anything about the situation. The kidnappers are asking for ransom of over 200 million naira or so. The Nigerian government has refused to get involved in the situation. Over 17, I think, university students were kidnapped last month. The Nigerian government refused to say anything about the situation. In fact, they were appealing to the bandits to release them. And the governor of Kaduna State came out and said, they are willing to use some of these students as sacrifice for the nation. And, that was also insensitive. And then let's come back to the moment. 200 children, I think that they're between the ages of 4 to 15 or so have been kidnapped in Niger for the past 2 weeks. And they're yet to be released. And the Nigerian government hasn't, made any concrete efforts on that. And then people are getting killed all over the country as well. There's still police brutality and harassment, extortion, all of that extrajudicial. I mean, I think a young Nigerian was killed this morning. It was a bike man, riding bike, and he was killed by a police officer just this morning. That happened just this morning. And I could go on and on about what is happening. And at times I just wake up, I don't know what to talk about. There's just a lot of issues. So you don't know what to actually talk about. Are you going to talk about the kidnapped students, or you're going to talk about the 93 people that were killed in Zamfara just yesterday, or you're going to talk about the 52 people that were killed in Benue just day before yesterday, or you're going to talk about the 100 people that were killed in Ebonyi just day before. It's just so it's what do I call it?
It's
So
paralyzing.
much at times. It's just so much at times, and at times I just literally have to take some time off. And at times I regret taking time off because when you come back, there's literally a whole lot of issues waiting for you. And there are people saying, "Oh, why not use your platform to talk about it?" I just use my platform to talk about this one, and this one just happened. So why not just use your platform to? And there's so many things to use your platform to talk about, and mentally you're drained because it's not easy for me. I think that a lot of Nigerians need mental health assistance because it's not a joke out here. It's not something that we wake up daily to bad news on the newspapers, bad news on the TV station. And the funny thing is, it's not even funny that you don't know when it's going to be your turn. Because now you're seeing that yesterday's survivors are today's victims in Nigeria. Yeah. People that were alive yesterday, seeing the bad news, they have become the victims today. So you don't know when it's going to be your turn. And it's just like we're just waiting for our turn to die. Because this country is literally killing everybody off. So the situation is depressing. At times I get to take some time off, but literally I've been depressed. Sometimes, it just gets too much. At times I just break down into tears. But this keeps me going. I literally have, a bit of, 1, 2, 3 people around me who just tell me that, you just have to keep on doing what you have to do, because if nobody talks about it, there's not going to be change. And all these, attacks, I faced intimidations. I was part of the people, my bank account was frozen, my passport was seized, my education has literally come to a halt because of harassment, at the hand of the Nigerian system. There's a lot of things going on, but there's this quote that I always use, that there were always, in the past history in the whole world, whenever people decide to advocate for change, there's always been resistance to change. However, without change, things will never get better, and we need things to get better in Nigeria. So, we keep on doing it like the Nigerian, slang. We move. We have coconut head, so we move.
Nigeria, they carry last. That's what we say. Is there hope? Rinu, as you've said all these things, and people might say, so why are we fighting? What's the point? Is there hope? And should we keep advocating?
Well, I said from the start that the problems, that we have in Nigeria today can actually be traced to governance issues. If only we have good governance. During the protests, I forgot to mention this. There's this group of young feminists, feminist coalition, who came together to crowdfund for people during the protests, and they did a lot of wonderful things. And for me, what I could take from that was that this small group, I wouldn't call them small group because they did a whole lot, but these Nigerians that are not even in power, they came together and they did something that reflected good governance. In minutes, ambulances are there providing food, providing medical care, providing mental health support, a lot of things. They reflected what they did then reflected what Nigerians wanted to see in the government. I used to say that the average Nigerian, for people out there, the average Nigerian doesn't even ask for much. If you're a Nigerian, and you grew up hearing your parents say, "Oh, they're stealing money, but they're making the roads, so let's just allow them." They can steal money, but at least they built an hospital for us. So the bar is in the dust for Nigerians. We don't really ask for much. In fact, we praise politicians when they make our roads better, because we think that they are doing us a favor. We praise them when they build hospitals, when they build schools, because we think that they are doing us a favor. And we just want to survive. For me, the average Nigerian, if you keep pushing them to a wall, because of their resilience, I don't know if that's a blessing, but it could be a curse at times, because of our resilience, when you push us to the wall, instead of us to stand and fight back, we break through the wall and we keep moving, because all we want to do is just survive. Yeah. It's just all we want to do is just survive. It's just have a place that is not actively, have a country that is not actively trying to kill us. So there's still hope, because many of these issues can just be traced to bad governance. If only we had good governance in the country, Nigeria wouldn't be where it is today. So there is hope for Nigeria. And for me, my hope for Nigeria is, I could literally go on and on, but if I was to say the most important thing to me, it is, I said something the other time, that in Nigeria where we won't be cut down in our prime, in Nigeria where youth can be leaders today, but that can be leaders in an unforeseen future, a Nigeria where, police not averse citizens anymore. But the most important thing to me is I hope for Nigeria is a land where the common man can get justice. Justice, true justice, irrespective of their status in the society, whether they are from middle class or working class or the poor or the rich, where the common man can get justice, irrespective of their status in the society.
Amen. Thank you so much, Rinu. We know that you didn't just steal our time that you had just lying around. We know it took a lot for you to be here with us. Thank you for sharing truths, hard truths with our audience. And we know that there's going to be change. Where we are is not where we're going to be forever. So I just want to appreciate you for your time. We are here. I know that this relationship will not end today. And we want to be your family in the US. Whenever you want to come, you can come crash with me. But we appreciate the work that you're doing, and we stand together. And I believe that we'll bring you back on this podcast and get more perspectives as we start seeing results and answer to prayers. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We appreciate
Have a lovely day.
You too. All right, everyone. This was great and hard, but I need you to take your phone. If you watch this by yourself, I need you to click the share link. But that's not it. I want you to share to whatever platforms you have your friends, but that's not it. I want you to subscribe to the ICON PSG Media channel. And as soon as you're subscribed, you'll be able to get notifications of our, not just this podcast, but all the work we're doing in Nigeria. We're going to have cameras on ground and getting stories, real-time stories. So you want to subscribe to that channel. Also, remember to click the notification bell below to make sure you get notified when we have new content uploaded. There's hope for Nigeria, but we're not just going to jump to the hope. We're going to speak about the terrible things that are happening right now and believe that we are on the precipice of change. Thank you for joining us for this very first episode of the third season of Hear Their Voices Again. My name is Priscilla Ozodo-Acevedo, and it's such a joy to be with you. Join us same time next week. See you then.